Hey, good morning. Good morning. It's great to be with you on Coffee with Democrats. We have a special guest with us today, Tegan Malone. She's running for House District 95 out of the Midwest City, Del City area, and also has a little bit in Cleveland County, but it's mostly in Oklahoma County. Good morning and welcome to Coffee Break on Coffee with Democrats.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm so excited to be back with you.
Yes. It just seems like it was just a few days ago, but that was back in May the last time we talked.
Is it really? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it seems like it was just yesterday, but a lot of things have gone on since then. I went on up to Chicago to the Democratic National Convention. Oh my gosh, the excitement and everything was so wonderful. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about you. So I'm going to kind of change things around here on the views so that we can actually start highlighting you and talk to us a little bit about what's going on in your part of the prairie.
Well, my part of the prairie, I still work a full-time job and help people get squared away with certificates of occupancy. So it's a very involved process, but the rest of my days on this part of the prairie are spent knocking doors, making phone calls, and just doing general campaign stuff. So we're gearing up for this get out the vote that's coming up here pretty quick, and
Right.
just keeping that steady pace moving forward, doing voter outreach and all the things that we need to do to make sure that people know who we are and what this campaign is running for.
Yeah, you bet. This is your second go around, and I'm hearing some really positive things about, you
Aw.
know, Tegan Malone. I'm really excited about, what's going on in your campaign. Again, all the stuff that we're hearing coming out of the state polls shows that Oklahoma and possibly Cleveland County could be pulling an upset with turning this from a Republican counties to Democrat counties, and that should help your campaign significantly.
I believe so. I think one of the things that we are consistently hearing from people on doors is, they remember 3 decades ago when we had a Democrat supermajority, and there towards the end, things felt a little corrupt.
Yes,
And so now that we've got a Republican supermajority and have had for at least a decade,
right.
it's really starting to feel really corrupt again. And so people, they might not necessarily identify with one side or another,
Hmm.
but they recognize that if we don't have balance in our state legislature, then we're not going to get good government for anyone. So people are really responding to that. They might not necessarily agree with us on a lot of the issues, but they recognize that, there are people whose hands are tied because of one issue or another. And we really got to get some fresh people in there that are going to help enable those people who are trying to do the right thing and get us on the right path and make sure we're spending our taxpayer dollars wisely.
And in order to do that, we've got to get you elected. So we've got to start talking a little bit about what's going on with your campaign.
Sure thing. We are getting close to having not. Are you ready for this number? 12,000 doors.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, we're very, very close to that number. We will exceed it by the end of this weekend for sure, if not surpassing it. Right now, we're averaging anyway, just depending on what type of volunteers we get to come out to help during the week, we're averaging about 500 to 800 doors a week.
Right.
So we should be pretty far up there by November 5th for sure. And that just translates for people who don't understand the rationale behind door knocking. We don't have a very high contact rate whenever we're knocking on doors. So the higher the number, the higher the voter contact that we're getting. And one of the things that we do know is that, a lot of people don't know us from everyday people that you see in the grocery store, right? And so knocking doors, talking to people, introducing ourselves, just being a good human being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
doing what we're supposed to do, living in a polite society, saying hello and saying, hey, neighbor, I want to look out for you. So we're getting a lot of positive response whenever we're doing our door knocking and just gearing up for all the fun to come.
And it seems like in the door knocking campaigns, one of the there's like several primary things, but education and women's health care seem to be at the top of most everybody's mind who are willing to talk to us about those things.
Yeah. Definitely. You know, the number one topic I'm finding people want to talk about on the doors is what's happening with our State Department of Education.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, most communities in Oklahoma truly, truly value our public schools. And we all know the state that they're in. Just to point out a little fact for you, and I know Dennis Baker was kind enough to bring this up on Twitter a couple of years ago. I moved back to Oklahoma. We were in the military. My husband at the time was in the Air Force, and we had a choice whether to PCS to our next base or to get out of the Air Force and come home. We chose to come home. So that was in 2011. In 2011, Oklahoma was ranked 17th in the nation in our public schools, 17. It's 2024 now. That's what, 13 years?
Right.
And we're ranked what? 49th?
Or
And
50th,
I know,
depending on which poll you're watching.
absolutely. Yeah. And I know correlation doesn't always equal causation, but in this case, I think it has a very big hand to play.
Right.
The only thing that has changed is who's been in leadership in our governor's seat and in our state legislature. And
Right.
that just goes to show after 13 years of failed policies on education, our public schools truly are failing. And it's not because we don't have great teachers. It's
Right.
not because we don't have students who are capable. And it's not because our students don't have family support. It's because of policies that we keep enacting and taking funding away from and just doing all sorts of things to actually harm this institution. So our communities are fully cognizant of the role our schools play. And let me tell you something, they are sick and tired of seeing these policies enacted. They are sick and tired of seeing the corruption that's coming out of the State Department of Education to keep enabling these policies to remain in place and even go further.
Right.
So I think people are really going to start voting this year. And I think we're going to start seeing a trend that they're actually going to start looking out for their own self-interest rather than just, you know, what one side or another is telling them that they need to believe. And I'm very hopeful that we're becoming a little bit more of an informed electorate in that respect.
Exactly. And one of the things that we're going to try to change the conversation just a little bit because we're kind of limited on time this morning. But in order to change that, we've got to get you elected. And this doesn't come easily, and it comes at a very high cost. You pay a very high cost in order to get those people on the doors, in order to make the contacts through phone banking, text banking, yard signs, the little pamphlets that you make for the doors, or to put in the mailers. All of those things cost money. They take a lot of money in order to make that, 12,000 door knocks count. The money that goes along with that is enormous. So let's talk a little bit about how people can help you with your campaign, maybe financially.
Absolutely. So, just to kind of put it in perspective, I've told 100 people this, and I will keep saying it. I'm not an independently wealthy person right now. I can't self-fund my campaign. When I get out of office, I promise I'm not going to be independently wealthy at that point in time either. So all that to say that anything that we do to coordinate this voter outreach requires that we do a significant amount of fundraising to make sure that we can buy, they're called walk cards, buy the walk cards that we use when we talk to people on their doors, to buy the yard signs, to buy the t-shirts, to buy the mailers that we send out closer to the election. All of those things obviously cost money. And it's
Right.
not like the Democratic Party just says, oh, Tegan, you're a good candidate. Here's a big pot of cash for you. Go spend it wisely. No, they don't do that. So one of the things that we do is we have to amass groups of people who believe in what we're doing, who want to see the change, who want all of this. And so we make phone calls and we ask for contributions. Obviously, there are federal guidelines on how people can contribute, and that more goes to the people who are independently wealthy and can really afford to maybe step out of that comfort zone and really help out a candidate. What we're seeing though, and don't get me wrong, I would love a big max out donation. Those are always wonderful and welcome. $5, $1, $25, something like that. Those are all excellent contributions to a campaign. If I know money's tight for a lot of people right now, but this is truly one of the ways that we work towards ensuring that we get better representation. And so, I like to encourage people. I called a number of my friends earlier this year and just said, hey, I don't want to stress you out about money. I know what your situation's like, but this is what I'm doing. And this is why I'm doing it. If
Right.
you can contribute $5 a month for 1 year, that's a $60 contribution.
Right.
That's negligible in the grand scheme of things. It's
Right.
bigger than a tax cut we got a few years ago.
Yes.
So it's something that can be done. And so, you know, when you add $60 to $60 to $60, it just has that snowball effect and can make something significant to a campaign. And so anytime we do any type of fundraising at all, you know, it goes directly to voter contact. It does not, I get paid nothing. I'm literally spending all of my time right now without pay, knocking doors, going to
Right.
events, making phone calls. There's no paycheck that is associated with what I'm doing right now. And so it all of this money is just to ensure that we're making sure that everybody has the information that they need to be as informed as possible whenever they go cast their ballots in November.
And as a supporter of Tegan, we at Coffee with Democrats, we ask everybody to think of it like this. We are Coffee with Democrats. We want to buy you a cup of coffee. So we encourage people to buy you a cup of coffee or the equivalent of that once a week. You know, that 3 to 5 or even a Starbucks, you know, $10. Just do that once a week and buy your candidate a cup of coffee in the form of a donation. Just make that donation to them because, again, it goes so far and it's not wasted. It doesn't go into your pocket and it's not going to go into somebody else's pocket. It's going to go into the actual function of being a candidate. So that's our pitch for you is, you know, just buy all of the candidates that you support a cup of coffee. And if you're supporting Tegan, buy her a cup of coffee once a week. So
that's such a great way to reframe that ask. Thanks for that, Kevin.
You bet. So we also need to talk about how other people can help your campaign by volunteering. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I'll throw that banner up at the bottom of the screen so people can see where to go get that on your website.
Perfect. Yeah, so volunteering is literally the bread and butter of any campaign. You know, we've got some dedicated campaign professionals, and like anything in this world, if you need an expert, you need to hire an expert, and we've hired some experts. But what we've been able to do this year, which was so much more than last year, is I now have a couple people that are helping me in this endeavor.
Right.
And one of them is coordinating volunteers for me, and she's a rock star at it. So we've got opportunities within the campaign to help on a number of fronts. First and foremost, the biggest one that we can always use are volunteer door knockers.
Yes.
We have gotten to the point where just about every single Saturday, we are meeting at 10:30 a.m. at Panera Bread on 29th Street in Midwest City. We have a table set up. We have literature out so people can take it. We will train you how to knock doors. And let me tell you something, door knocking is scary for a lot of people. Trust me. It made me anxious as all get out the first time I did it. And I was terrible at it the first door I knocked. Actually Representative John Waldron was with me. And I kind of laugh at it, thinking about it now, because it was just abysmal. But we figured it out on the second door and it worked perfectly. But we've got those opportunities to door knock. We make sure we send our volunteers out on friendly doors. So it's not anything that they feel like they're going to have to stand up and fight, for lack of a better term. You know, I don't want people to feel like they're going to get in fisticuffs on a door front, but you know, just have good, positive conversations, making sure people are energized and they remember that the election's coming up. So volunteer door knockers are a big one. If you don't want to knock, but you want to show up and you want to be a part of the volunteer day of action, we can always use people who can drive.
Yeah.
We tend to not send people out alone, because sometimes that can be scary. And, you know, you just want to have a backup person, because, you know, sometimes there's an Amazon package on a porch and you just want another set of eyes saying, oh, yeah, it was there and we didn't touch it, you know?
You're right.
Exactly. And, you know, every once in a while you'll get somebody who we've accidentally woken up. Maybe they work, you know, third shift or something like that, you know, and we do feel terrible when that happens. We try to make those notes when we know that that's an issue, just so we don't bother those people anymore.
Right.
We have opportunities to text bank. We can send out the instructions on how to do that. You can literally sit on your couch at night and text for us while you're watching a TV show that your spouse is watching and you have no interest in. Right? Phone banking opportunities also. There are also some opportunities to help us write note cards. I know that the Oklahoma Democratic Party has got a dedicated crew of people that are writing note cards for us right now. And I know down in Cleveland County, we have got a wonderful organization working with them called Women in Action, who
Right.
volunteered to write some postcards for us as well. And I'm going to try to get down to each of these spots because I cannot begin to express to you, Kevin, what a humbling feeling it is to know that there are people I have never met that support me and that are actually doing work to help volunteer for my campaign. And it is a heavy thought to know sometimes just lying in bed at night that there are people that believe that much in what you're doing. So,
Oh, that's a wonderful feeling too.
yeah,
It's humbling
it is.
by every stretch. So we just got a few minutes left here.
Sure.
We've got to talk about how enthusiastic things are. And so I'm going to preface this by saying I'm coming to you live from the Cleveland County Democrat office. We're on West Gray Street. I think it's 211 West Gray. I'm not sure about the address. Look it up before you come down here. But it's the Cleveland County Democratic headquarters or office. And I do this podcast live at 10 a.m. every Monday through Friday. It has been crazy ever since after the Labor Day. I started this podcast down here. Every single day, I show up between 8:30, 9:15, something like that. There's always somebody waiting at the door wanting to come in and buy a Harris Walls sign. I'm so used to Biden Harris. I'm sorry, but I'll be honest with you, it hurt me significantly when he backed out because I was supporting him so much. But I digress. But the excitement down here is just palpable. We get people every single day wanting to come in and talk about being a Democrat. And get this, I have people who have come in here and they're mad as hell. And you can always tell these are the Republicans. They're coming into a Democrat office because they're pissed off. They can't stand their own candidates and their own policies for their political party. They just cannot stand it. And they're coming down here, they're mad, but they want to get a Harris Walls sign because they're going to put it on. That's who they want to vote for. And they want their neighbors to know that's who they're going to vote for. And, the story I tell is, one gentleman came in, he was so angry. We had a little conversation. And he said, I'm not going to buy a sign. I will not spend money for that sign. If you're not going to give it to me, I'm leaving. I said, wait a minute. All these signs cost money. And who pays for it? It's not the Democratic Party. It's the donors. It's people like me. But guess what? As a donor, I'm going to buy that sign for you today. And I'm going to take it and put it in your car for you so that you can have that. And I thought the guy was going to start crying. He really thought that was so amazing that we were going to step up and actually, and we bought the sign for him. So, it's exciting. And that, what came out of the campaign up in the convention was so exciting. So I know you've got to be feeling some of those same exciting things that are happening, just being a Democrat and even being a blue dot in Oklahoma that, everybody says it's ruby red. I don't agree with that. We're a non-voting state. We're not a red state. So kind of talk to us about a little bit about what you're seeing as far as excitement.
Absolutely. I've shared this little anecdote a number of times in a number of different places, and I'm going to keep sharing it because it is a testament to what most of us have seen. When I started knocking doors a couple of years ago, I met this wonderful woman here in Midwest City, and she walked out on her front porch, and she must have been early 70s, maybe. She walked out on her front porch, figured out who I was, figured out I was a Democrat, and she leaned to me on her own front porch and whispered, I'm the only Democrat in my neighborhood. And I looked back at her and I said, with all due respect, ma'am, no, you're not. And I showed her my app that I was using, and I showed her all the little dots that were on there. And I said, all of these people, they're Democrats. And she was just floored. And I just told her, this is where we're at in our society right now. We're not talking to our neighbors anymore. We are not able to engage in polite conversation. And it's not that, we really care who's a Republican and who's a Democrat. It's that we feel so fearful of who's next to us that we're just not discussing things anymore. And everything since July 21st has just flipped on its head when it comes to that. Because that was a sentiment that I was maybe not whispering on the front porch anymore, but it was still a sentiment that I was getting quite a bit from people because they were just afraid to let people know who they were, or that they stood up for human rights, or that they thought that this policy was total garbage and that it was going to, negatively affect their job, their life, their whatever. And so what we're seeing now since that July 21st is just people. They're
Yeah.
excited. They want to talk to one another. They want to
Yeah.
feel that spirit of community again. And, as Democrats, I think something that we do exceptionally well is, even though we have, for better or worse, and I'm sure both sides have done it to a certain extent, but it sure does feel like there's been an awful lot of negative attention, negative verbiage, negative everything thrown our way.
Right.
And I think, there are people that are part of the Republican Party and they don't appreciate that either. And so
Right.
they are just looking for a way to keep connecting to their community because they're losing people left and right all the time because of this negative attitude. So as Democrats, something that I think that we do exceptionally well is we say, you know what? We're not going to give it back to you the way it was given to us. What we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, friend, we're right here.
Right.
We're bringing you back. We're not going to hold, past things against you. You are here. You are willing to work with us. You are willing to say, we want to move forward as a country, as a community, as a neighborhood, as a whatever together. And we can't do this unless we start working together again. And so we're
Absolutely.
seeing people, from different ideologies coming back, not necessarily because they want to be Democrats, but just because they know that what we're doing right now is opening those arms and having this wide open door with a big tent saying everybody is welcome. We are a good home for you until you can figure out which direction you want to go. If you want to stay with us, wonderful. You're always welcome here. But if you want to try to rebuild your party or create something new or might, try to do something that's going to bring a little bit more sanity and a little bit more compromise back to our political system, then we're here for you, and we're going to allow you to stay as long as you need to until you can get to that point. And so that's one of the things that I think is so wonderful about what has happened since the Harris Walls ticket was announced is that people are just willing to talk again.
Right.
People are willing to go out in public and not be afraid of who they are or what they believe. There's a lot of validity into the approach of being welcoming and open and not ostracizing, not using hate-filled words to
Right.
demonize entire groups of people, not trying to sway opinion just to get what you want, because for some strange reason our politics has migrated to this winner takes all mentality. When we get elected and we're sitting in that seat, the whole job is about compromising with whatever side that we've got there to make sure everyone has the best representation possible.
Right.
But with the winner takes all mentality, it becomes you're going to do as I say, and you're going to do it exactly how I say. And I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but most of people like me who grew up Gen X were like, no, that ain't going to work for us. But yeah,
Well, I tell you what, it is such an exciting time. It really is. I haven't seen this kind of excitement since maybe, I don't even think it was during the Obama campaigns. I don't think we felt that, it was exciting then, but it was nothing compared to what we have now. And and again, we have this great opportunity. The list of people who are coming on board to help with that from major stars in Hollywood and out of the music industry. And it's just everyday people are just coming back out and saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm ready to lift my voice up to help. So, hey, thanks for joining us on Coffee Break Coffee Break on Coffee with Democrats. You're a great friend, and you're just such a lovely person, both inside and out. I just enjoy spending all the time that I can around you. You always inform me and lift me up and inspire me, and I really cannot say thank you enough for spending time with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And thank you for giving us a platform here. Because, I know you know this, but being a blue dot in a red ocean sometimes feels very lonely. And being able to connect with more people and see that we're still here. I mean, just like the woman on the porch. And,
Yes.
just like I've said this before, we're like Courtney Harris of Who. We are here. we are
Yes.
here.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And folks, thanks for joining us this morning on Coffee Break with Coffee with Democrats. We're going to take a few days. I'll be going to Colorado for some mental therapy, some altitude therapy, and some wind therapy. I'm going to go out there and have all that experience here for the couple of days. And then we'll be back here going hard for the remainder of October into November, going to the election. So everybody, until tomorrow, well, actually until Monday, please be safe.